Hi guys, it's Theresa here of Larkin Design, and welcome back to my Kids Albums project. And so what we are doing is Alan and I are working together to start a collection of albums that our 4 children will take with them one day when they have their own home. And each child is in various different stages in terms of what kinds of albums they have and what we want to see finalized. Every one of them is individual, and that's intentional. Every child has a different life and has a different experience, even in the same family. And all 4 of our kids, we're a blended family, so all 4 of our kids have had different experiences. 2 of our children came from one family and have a life before our family as it is today. And the other 2 children also had a whole life together before our family became one. So today what I wanted to share with you are my daughter, my biological daughter, Natalie's albums. I've shared with you in the past Nick's albums. He's my biological son. And I wanted to start with these 2 because they're the ones I'm most familiar with and that I have scrapbooked from before they were born. I started scrapbooking when I was pregnant with Nick and have not stopped scrapbooking since then. He's now 13. So 13 and a half years I've been scrapbooking. And then Natalie is my second biological child, and these are her albums so far. And so I also shared a little overview of what I have for them in terms of albums, and I went through and I sort of arranged Nick and Natalie's layouts. I separated some things out, and this is what I came up with from what I had. When I scrapbooked my son was born in 2004 and Natalie was born in 2007. So these albums are from 2007, 2008, 2009, and a few in 2010. But when I was scrapbooking back then, I did it very much not organized. I just scrapbooked the photos I wanted to scrapbook, and I didn't worry about were they in chronological order or anything like that. It was strictly inspiration driven. So all of these layouts are just inspiration driven, but they are in chronological order now. And I decided that I want to keep Natalie's older album. I'll tell you a little bit about the albums that I chose. This older album is American Crafts album. It's just a chipboard album with a fabric binding. You can still find them in some places online. I like them because they're pretty basic, but I also don't like them because they're pretty basic. So for the rest of her albums, I'm doing these pink Project Life albums. They're the faux leather albums. And I think it's okay for her to have one album that sort of stands out on its own. That is her baby album. This is more some of her toddler years. So I want to walk you through these and show you sort of what I've done and how I took inspiration layouts and created, organized, completed albums from those. One thing that I have not done for Natalie is I have not worked on any of her schoolwork. So you won't see any artwork or schoolwork or that kind of layouts in here yet. I do have those in Nick's album if you want to see how I've handled that for his. Her schoolwork is organized and ready to go in an album, and that's going to be the next step that I take. So let me walk you through. This is her baby album, and I think these are the We Are Memory Keepers post-bound pages. That's why they have this extra thing. I need to go back eventually and replace them. But anyway, so starting with her first ultrasound. Let me make sure I have this in a good spot here so you can see. I know there's some glare that's hard to avoid when there is page protectors, but hopefully you can still get a good idea. Okay, so ultrasound, and then more of her ultrasounds, and I guess that's sort of the lead-in page, the front page of the album, and then some others of her ultrasounds. These are photocopies onto photo paper of those ultrasounds so that they would be able to be kept intact. And then the day of her birth. And yes, that is her father. So yeah, this is my mom. She passed away about 4 months after Natalie was born. So these were some of her last days. So yeah, pretty important, right? This would also be a great intro page or title page for the album. Her full name and her birth date. This, I love looking at old product, right? This page back here, this background page, is an old Rona Ferrer page. And she, of course, is now known for her apps, the Rona Designs apps. So you can see how these post-bound page protectors don't really work well. Some little bath time layouts. I don't know if you can see that Nick is right here in the corner. These are, these two layouts are Donna Downey layouts, actually. She does mostly art now, not so much scrapbooking. Natalie's first Christmas. And this is a story about how I loved shopping for outfits for her, and I specifically at the time was shopping Gymboree and Nargi. So that is what that journaling is about. The pumpkin patch. That year at the pumpkin patch, she was 14 months old, but she wasn't walking yet. But she was determined that she would not let me hold her that day. She was going to crawl on the ground among those pumpkins. I probably need to add that somewhere. That's part of the story there. And then we went to the state fair, or not the state fair, but Winston-Salem has a fair called the Dixie Classic. And she got her face painted that day. This is the story of how she learned to walk. So cute. She was a late walker, but when she did, she just took off running and just laughed. She was just giggling at herself. Like, ha, y'all thought I couldn't do that. So, and then she's got personality. We've always said that about her. It's personality instead of personality. She still does that, as you guys may have seen in our recent photos. This is some old pink paisley product. These papers here, if you're wondering. We went to a circus. It was part of Nick's preschool, and so I did a layout in his album. This is the one I did for her album, and we had cotton candy at the circus. It was the first time, and she thought it was cotton balls, so she rubbed it on her cheeks. That's the story for that. So she's getting up to almost 2. She's 21 months here. And a little closing page just of her, and a little stamped and written sentiment there. And then this is an old Technique Tuesday layout that I never really finished. I guess eventually I will at some point. It just lives back there. So that is that album. And then I'll share with you the other one. Okay. So if you feel challenged by intro layouts and ending layouts, don't feel like you're all alone in that. I need to get one done here. This is probably one of the only family layouts that I did of our family before the divorce. And this is actually just as I was realizing that we were probably not going to make it. So it's kind of an interesting little place to be. But these are part of her stories. I feel a particular kind of sadness when I look at this, but for her it's a reminder of what her family, where she came from, and what her family looked like for a while when she was born and when she was just, a year and a half old. Easter layout. This is another, I think, another Donna Downey inspired layout. And we were practicing with grids, right? So love these. And of course, what makes this work is the visual triangle with the 3 squares that are left untouched, just a little stamp. This is Natalie's family on her dad's side. And then the Dixie Classic Fair where she had her face painted. So if you ever wonder, do I scrapbook photos twice? Do I have 2 layouts about the same photos? Yeah, sometimes I do. A visit to the butterfly farm. And this is one of those events that we did specifically with Nick's preschool. So that's really a layout about Nick, but I put it here, one, because I think we went several times. So he has another layout about the butterfly farm in his album, and then this is the one that I chose to go in her album. The swimming layout. And then this is a classic, y'all, this is a classic Allie Edwards layout. This was taught as part of a Technique Tuesday class. But obviously Allie's stamp sets, Allie's clock. And she also does a lot of initial work for Anna and Simon. So yeah, classic Allie Edwards design. And this is sort of, for me, this is the beginning of marking our family of 3. And the beginning of the family of 3. This is really the first time that I addressed us just being the 3 of us. And from here on out, I viewed us as just the three of us after the divorce. So, and you can't really, like, it's not really obvious or anything. It's just something that it marks it for me for some reason. I guess I probably did this after we moved out or after I moved out or something. I don't know. It's just always because it's just the three of us in the layout or something. I don't know. Her second birthday. Too cute. Still with the fingers. More from her birthday. And yeah, some of these are single pages that I'm just leaving the backs of them just plain and not worrying about whether there's a layout there or not. If I need more room, I can always go back and double up on those. This is a fun layout. She took her nap that day with those sunglasses on. And at some point she had a little purse that she was carrying too, so she had to have her purse, her shoes, and her sunglasses for her nap that day. Another pumpkin patch layout. Those are always my favorite. They've always, those and Halloween layouts have always been my favorites. Her Halloween that year, this was a little Etsy costume. Love, love, love. She was a little ladybug. And then she went to preschool. She went to the same preschool that Nick went to for just a couple of months. So definitely a special layout, and these are photos I did not take. So I'm thankful to the friends that sent me those. Playground. This is Valentine's Day in 2010, and she came home just covered with stickers and candy. It's hilarious. Fall again. Now look, this is where there's an identifiable gap, right? There's Valentine's 2010 and then fall 2010. So this will be an area when I begin to strategize about what holes I need to fill. That will be one of the first places that I will look to find photos to sort of bridge the gap between Valentine's Day and the pumpkin patch in 2010. And that's okay. And if there aren't many photos from that time period, that's okay too. What's interesting about 2010 is that I was working full-time and going to school full-time. And I only really had Nick and Natalie on Saturdays and Sundays at that time. It wasn't something that I was really happy about, so I worked to change it. But 2010 is kind of one of those voids, photo-wise. I've talked about the kids' sports and what they did, just in general on my channel here and on my blog. And Nick was playing t-ball. Natalie was not on sports teams yet. She was still maybe a little bit too young, but she stepped right on up to the plate that day. And then swimming. She's always been a really excellent swimmer and has always loved the water. So that's a good thing. Another Easter layout here. I think these were some pink paisley papers as well. And look, she's starting to look a little bit more grown up there. A Saturday at the Y. At the playground. This is some of that Cosmo Cricket. Do you guys know that line? And a birthday layout. This is her 2011 birthday. She told me the other day she remembers getting that little strawberry shortcake house. It has a little twirling thing on the top. They still have it. And I did this one recently, just this year. And then that's it. So that is where I'm at with Natalie's albums. What I will do now for Nick and Natalie is just begin to identify some of the holes, specifically for Natalie. I think Nick is okay up until first grade, but for Natalie, I need to work on her artwork. I'm probably just gonna put all of her artwork in one album and let that be her artwork album. Nick's is more interspersed, and then figure out some of the things that are missing or that I need to add. You know, birthdays, and obviously, even though I have full December dailies from most of these years, I probably will go back and do some kind of Christmas layouts for some of the years as well. So that is my task list for these two. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for watching. I hope that this has been educational for you to sort of see how other people are doing their kids' albums. They're also a lot of fun to look back and see these old layouts and see how we used to do it. So thanks again for watching, and check back. I'll be sharing more of this in the upcoming months as well. I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.